And we're still not out of the pandemic scare and lockdowns, but the first wave of books on COVID are out and available at your local bookstore. Crisis and Emergency Planning Manager Allan Bonner has good motivation to be reading up on the event. He's working with a team of authors and researchers to write a book on crisis and pandemic planning. One of the books he's been reading is called COVID, The Politics of Fear and the Power of Science by Mark Siegel, a physician who is also a regular commentator on Fox News. Joining us right now is Allan Bonner. Good morning, Allan.
Morning.
It sounds like, Allan, you have done more reading in the last month than I may have done in the last year. That's probably the case.
Well, I've watched everything I can watch on TV twice. I've seen all the movies. I exercise an hour a day. I got my first shot. I would have tweeted getting my first shot, but there were privacy concerns there. I felt that a lot of other men my age would be embarrassed if they saw the size of my bicep, so I didn't bother. So now I'm turning to reading, and yes, I am doing a great deal of reading because I now work in a home office and I'm in lockdown mode, so why not?
Look, Allan, I haven't been working out. I haven't really been reading that much. I do sort of a level of required reading for this show, but I have a long way to catch up to you, but let's get into this because we only have so much time. So one of the first things I want to bring up is fear and risk and the pandemic and how those three things are connected.
Now, there is a whole body of literature about fear, and it's kind of emerged. It emerges every now and then. It emerged after 9/11, and is, Dick Cheney, the vice president, and George W. Bush, are they promoting fear to keep the electorate off kilter so that they'll vote for them? And, all the going back 50 years, there are studies of fear in risk-taking behavior. Some people like karate and skydiving. Other people get the heebie-jeebies if they just think about going on an airplane flight. And so there's a lot of good literature on this. And I'm suspicious that maybe doctors are already going to write a book about this and about the history of pandemics because they go back to the yellow fever and the Black Plague and the Spanish flu, Hong Kong flu, 1957, SARS, MERS, Ebola. And I think maybe he tacked this particular one onto that, otherwise good book in its own right, but I don't know. At any rate, it's a little early to be doing a thoroughgoing analysis of what went wrong in the pandemic, but we have several physicians and medical officers of health coming out these days saying that they made a mistake. And we have the Canadian Auditor General saying there were mistakes made. So it's a good time to be reading this kind of thing.
Yeah, and certainly. Or go ahead, Allan.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying some of the high points are, in a ghoulish note, he said we didn't have all the survivors to fill up the hospital beds to overflowing that we feared. And he lives in New York, and he got to go out and fly back in within 24 hours. That's how lax the quarantine or stay-at-home order was. And hospitals are normally 80% filled, so how could they be ready for a surge? So there's a lot of good information here.
Yeah, and one of the things you highlight is sort of the process of making a vaccine, which I think, has been such a point of debate with vaccine hesitancy. I think that's very important.
Well, look, there is so much blame to go around, and as the books roll out over even the next years, because it will take years to collate all the information, one of the things that is going to be revealed in this book, that there are several ways of making a vaccine. One is, chicken egg culture, and the other is mammalian eggs or cultures, and one is a lot faster than the other, and we didn't upgrade to the other one after SARS and MERS and so on. And had we done that, or had urban emergency plans had pandemic plans in them, or had we had retail on sidewalks, I mean, there are just so many things we could have done. This book highlights the medical and the medical research angles.
And look, my full disclosure, my father's a cardiologist, so he would tell you, if he was chatting with us right now, heart disease and similar things are still killing a lot of Canadians, and that's true of so many health issues. And we really, to some extent, I don't even think we fully know all of the things that have been exacerbated by people's inability to get, the level of care they would have gotten before this pandemic.
Well, yeah, I mean, we built seniors facilities incorrectly. We built office buildings without enough air circulation. And, as this author points out in his book, COVID, he says, we have 33 million people with HIV, 3 million deaths a year, 3 to 500 million cases of malaria, 2 million deaths. A third of the world is starving. 15 million children die of hunger each year. And on the fear over here in North America, the chemical plants aren't adequately protected. Neither are laboratories which study potential chemical and biological weapons, and we're not protected from nuclear terrorism. Now, why list all those other things? Going back to 9/11, America put a lot of money into FEMA, Homeland Security, terrorism, and by the time Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, they were obviously not prepared for a regular and normal severe weather event. Then, after Hurricane Katrina, we didn't put money into, bio defense, meaning this kind of thing, the pandemic. And we reel from sort of one threat to another and ignore maybe larger ones or easier ones to fix, such as underlying health conditions, as you say. Your father would tell us, and by the way, he should have got you reading more, but that's another matter.
That's a good point.
Your father would also tell you that it's diabetes. I mean, everything's connected to everything else, but it's diabetes cardiovascular and ailments that can be significantly addressed with diet and exercise and so on, and getting rid of high fructose sugar. So, we're going to go full speed ahead on biodefense, so we're probably going to miss